Welcome back. Ross Dress for Less is a really popular store here in the islands. And guess what? Two more Ross stores just opened up today.
Let's get one thing straight. Ross Dress for Less does not want you to know what I'm about to expose. Because behind that cute Dress for Less slogan, the overstuffed racks, and those hypnotic red clearance tags lie a retail jungle where chaos is king. The rules are twisted, and the shopper is rarely the one in control. You walk in thinking you're outsmarting the system. You tell yourself you're scoring designer brands for pennies on the dollar, that Ross is your secret weapon against overpriced malls and department stores. But the truth? Ross is playing a completely different game. And most shoppers have no idea they're the ones being played. This isn't just about shaving a few dollars off your receipt. This is about the traps Ross sets, the illusions they sell, and the psychological tricks designed to keep you spending money on things you didn't plan to buy and probably don't even need. Today, we're pulling the curtain back on all of it. Once you see the game for what it really is, you will never look at those cluttered aisles the same way again. And before we dive in, if you love saving money and understanding how stores really work, make sure you subscribe to Frugal Finds for You. This is where we break down retail games, expose the tricks, and help you keep more cash in your pocket instead of theirs. All right, let's get into it. Number 10, designer brands that aren't really designer. Here's the fantasy. You spot a Michael Kors purse, a Calvin Klein blazer, or a Nike hoodie at Ross for a fraction of the usual price. Your heart starts beating faster. You think, this is it. I just outsmarted the entire fashion industry. But here's the ugly truth. A lot of those so-called designer items were never made in the same factories as the real versions. Ross works with third-party manufacturers and buys from discount lines and overstock suppliers that produce cheaper, lower-quality versions of those brands specifically for off-price retailers. That Michael Kors bag you're holding, chances are it never saw the inside of the same factory as the one sold at a high-end department store. The leather may be different. The stitching may be weaker. The hardware may be thinner. It's like a budget doppelganger. Looks the part from 5 feet away, but up close, it tells a different story. Smart shoppers know to flip the tag and inspect the details. Does the interior label look generic or slightly off? Are there weird internal codes instead of clear style numbers? Do you see the word irregular anywhere on a sticker? If so, you're not buying runway fashion. You're buying leftovers, knockdowns, special made-for-outlet runs, or factory rejects that failed to pass quality inspection somewhere else. I once grabbed a pair of Nike sneakers at Ross that looked perfect in store. When I got home, one shoe had the logo stitched slightly sideways. The other squeaked with every single step. Congratulations to me! I had just purchased the factory reject special. Thanks, Ross. Number 9. The compare at price illusion. Ross's most powerful weapon isn't the clothing, the shoes, or the home decor. It's those little white price tags. You know the ones. Compare at $89. Our price, $29.99. It feels like victory. It feels like you just robbed the retail system and walked away clean. You imagine the full-priced version hanging somewhere in a nice mall for $90, and you just snagged it for a third of that. But here's what you need to know. That compare at number, most of the time, it's smoke and mirrors. Ross's own fine print quietly admits it. That higher number is based on the recent selling price of the same or similar product at a department store. Keywords: similar product. Translation: they can pretty much make it up. As long as they can vaguely argue that something kind of like it sold for that somewhere, sometime. In reality, many of these items were never sold anywhere for the price listed as the compare at number. The jeans you bought for $29.99 that claim to be compare at $89, they might only ever have been worth $30 in the first place. Pro tip, before you flex about the deal you just scored, do a quick search on your phone. Look up the brand and style if you can find it on the tag. Half the time, you'll discover that the compare at price is about as real as a movie script. Does that mean the price is always bad? Not necessarily. Sometimes Ross truly does have a solid deal, but the savings are usually smaller than you might think. If they have to invent a comparison just to make it look like a bargain, it's probably not the steal they're selling you. Number 8, the dumping ground for irregulars. If you've ever walked through Ross and thought, why does this shirt look slightly crooked? Or, why do these shoes feel off? It's because Ross thrives on irregulars. A huge chunk of their inventory comes from factory rejects, overruns, items with minor or not so minor defects, products that failed quality checks somewhere else we're talking. Shoes with mismatched stitching or uneven soles, jackets with zippers that don't glide smoothly, cookware with dents, scratches, or chipped coating, electronics that are missing instructions, or small parts. Sometimes the flaws are harmless, like a tag that's a bit faded or a tiny cosmetic mark. Other times, you're literally paying for something another retailer refused to put on their shelves, and Ross doesn't really hide it either. Look closely, and you'll see tags that literally say irregular or as is. That's corporate language for, we know something is wrong with it, but we're still going to sell it to you. Is it always a bad purchase? No. You can occasionally score a decent item with a barely noticeable flaw, but you absolutely need to inspect everything: seams, zippers, buttons, soles, straps, and wiring. Because at Ross, you're not just hunting for deals, you're also screening for defects. Number 7, chaos by design. Let's be honest, stepping into Ross often feels less like shopping and more like navigating a thrift store tornado you've got. Racks jammed with every size mixed, home goods wedged between socks and random accessories, makeup next to kitchen gadgets, toys buried under piles of blankets. It looks like chaos, it feels like chaos. But here's the twist: that chaos is not an accident, it's deliberate. Ross leans heavily on the treasure hunt effect. By making you dig, wander, and scroll through endless racks, they keep you in the store longer. And the longer you stay, the more likely you are to toss extra items into your cart. That's why you walk in for a $20 hoodie and somehow end up leaving with a scented candle, a dog toy, a kitchen gadget you're not sure how to use, 3 shirts you were only kind of sure about. The chaos keeps you trapped, and Ross profits from every why not purchase you make while trying to navigate the mess. I once found a pair of size 11 Jordans shoved in the kids' toy aisle. Another time, I saw a random toaster jam between women's dresses like it was hiding out. Ross is like retail Jumanji. You never really know what level of madness you're walking into. Number 6, not every deal is a real deal. Let's talk about clearance for a second. Here's a sneaky truth: some clearance at Ross isn't really clearance at all. Yes, now and then, you'll see wild markdowns. Size 16 football cleats for $4.99. Random team hats for $3.99. Weirdly specific items that only 5 people on Earth want. But most of the time, the markdown is laughable. A blender goes from $29.99 down to $24.99, and suddenly it gets a big red clearance sticker, like it just did something amazing. That's not clearance, that's marketing theater. Ross wants your brain to light up like it found treasure the second you see a red tag. They want you to feel like you have to grab it or you'll miss out. But unless the discount is truly dramatic, you're just paying near full price with a clearance costume on. Here's a good rule of thumb: if the discount doesn't make you say, "Wow, that's actually a steal," it's not special. You're just being nudged into thinking it is. And we're only just getting started. Ross's dirtiest tricks, like the return policy trap and the sneaky senior discount, are still ahead. And trust me, you'll want to know these before you swipe your card again. Number 5, the return policy trap. Ross loves to advertise easy returns. Sounds comforting, right? Makes you feel like everything is low risk. Here's the reality: their return policy is one of the strictest landmines in the discount retail world. You get 30 days. That's it. You must have your receipt, the tags, ideally, and the item must be in acceptable condition. Miss that window by even a day, it's game over. It doesn't matter if the zipper broke after one wear, the blender burned out after 2 uses, or the seams started splitting after a week. If you're past the deadline, you're almost always stuck. Lose your receipt? At best, you might get store credit, and often not even for the full amount. At worst, they'll tell you, "Sorry, there's nothing we can do." But here's the really sneaky part: Ross tracks your returns. If you return items too often, especially higher ticket ones, you can get flagged. Managers have the authority to deny returns from repeat offenders, even when the product is clearly defective. So the next time you tell yourself, "I'll just return it if it doesn't work out," remember, at Ross, once you swipe your card, there's a good chance it's yours for good. One viewer shared this story: "I bought a blender at Ross. It died after 2 uses. I went to return it, but I was 2 days past the 30-day window. The manager said, 'Rules are rules.' Basically, I paid $40 to rent a blender for a week. That's not a bargain. That's a paid inconvenience." Number 4, the senior discount they don't shout about. Here's a secret Ross does not plaster on billboards: Every Tuesday, at many locations, customers aged 55 and older get 10% off their entire purchase. It's usually printed on a faded little sign near the front entrance or at the register, something you can walk past 100 times and never actually register. But it's real, and it's widespread. That means if you're over 55, Ross basically owes you a discount every Tuesday. If you're not, you can bring someone who is. Take your mom, take your dad, take your grandma. Let them check out, you hand over the cash, and boom, you just shaved 10% off your whole haul. One viewer told us she takes her 70-year-old mom shopping every Tuesday. Her mom does the checkout, she reimburses her, and they save 10% on every trip like clockwork. That's not cheating. That's beating Ross at their own game. This is exactly the kind of thing we love to uncover here. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Frugal Finds for you so you don't miss hidden discounts like this at other stores too. Number 3, the gift card hack. Smart shoppers know one golden rule: never pay full price if you don't have to. That includes the payment method itself. Sites like Raise, Gift Card Granny, and Card Cash often sell Ross gift cards for 5% to 15% less than their face value. Let's do the simple math. You buy a $100 Ross gift card for $85 online. Then you shop on a Tuesday and stack the 10% senior discount, using a family member if needed. That $100 worth of merchandise effectively costs you around $75. That's a real discount, not a fake compare at mark. One subscriber wrote, "I bought $150 worth of Ross gift cards for $135. Then I went shopping with my mom on Tuesday and used the 10% senior discount. I basically got an $80 pair of sneakers for around $60. Ross wants you to swipe your debit card with zero prep. Frugal shoppers load discounted gift cards, stack the senior deal when they can, and walk out knowing they just sliced the price down twice before they ever hit the register. Number 2, electronics, a landfill with a barcode. If you've ever thought, hey, I'll grab some headphones or a Bluetooth speaker while I'm here, stop right there. This is one of Ross's biggest traps. Most of the electronics on those shelves are no-name imported brands, outdated models, refurbished or returned items, cheap builds with flashy packaging. The boxes look shiny. The claims sound impressive. But inside? Shoddy components, short lifespans, and warranties that are basically meaningless. That $24.99 speaker that dies in a week, that's not bad luck. That's the business model. Even when you spot familiar brand names, many of them are older versions that were dumped after newer models hit the market. They're not fake, but they're definitely not current. One viewer admitted, "I grabbed a pair of Skull Candy headphones at checkout for $19.99. 3 days later, one side stopped working. I lost the receipt and couldn't return them. Ross basically sold me disposable headphones." Bottom line, Ross is fine for clothes, home decor, small organizational items, maybe a throw blanket or two. But when it comes to electronics, you might as well be tossing your money straight into the trash. Number 1, the store hours chaos. Here's something most shoppers never notice. Ross store hours are all over the place. Some locations close at 9 p.m., others stay open till 11. Certain spots, especially during holidays, push it to midnight or even 1 to 2 a.m. That's not just quirky, it's strategic. Why does it matter? Because timing at Ross is everything early mornings. You catch the store at its cleanest. Racks are more organized, the mess from the day before has been partially reset, and returns, and new stock may have just hit the floor. Lines are shorter, and employees are less overwhelmed. Late nights, you'll often see employees rolling out fresh carts loaded with new merchandise, trying to restock for the next day. If you don't mind a bit of chaos, this can be prime hunting time for brand new items. Midday weekends, especially Saturdays. Pure chaos. The aisles look like a retail battlefield. The checkout line snakes to the back of the store. Clothes are on the floor. Sizes are mixed. Parents are stressed. Kids are crying. You will question your life decisions. One viewer told us, "Our Ross stays open until 1 a.m. I went in around 12:30, thinking I'd be alone. Nope, half the store was packed. People were digging through boxes that employees had just rolled out. It felt more like a midnight flea market than a store." Savvy Ross shoppers know. Timing is everything. Early mornings and late nights can be gold. Midday weekends are punishment. Ross might look like a bargain hunter's paradise, but once you see the traps, from return policy landmines to the electronics graveyard, you realize the savings aren't always what they seem. We've already exposed the main ways Ross keeps shoppers spending: fake feeling designer tags, compare at price illusions, factory irregulars, strict return rules, psychological chaos in the aisles. But the sneakiest tricks, the ones most people never notice, are hiding in plain sight. Think of these as the bonus secrets Ross really doesn't want you figuring out. Bonus secret number one: the fitting room nightmare. Ross fitting rooms aren't just inconvenient, they are designed to wear you down. You've seen it. A limited number of items are allowed inside, long lines, and cramped waiting areas. In some stores, no mirrors inside the rooms. Imagine trying on jeans, then having to step out into a crowded hallway, under fluorescent lights, in front of strangers, just to see if they fit. That isn't just bad design, it's a strategy. Ross knows that the harder it is to try clothes properly, the more likely you are to settle for good enough, skip grabbing another size, buy items you're unsure about just to avoid going through the process again. One viewer shared, "I tried on 3 dresses at Ross. The fitting room was packed, and I had to step outside in front of everyone to use the hallway mirror. Honestly, I only liked one, but I bought all 3 because I didn't want to deal with that whole circus again." That's not convenient, that's pressure. Bonus secret. Number 2, one product, 2 prices. Here's a trick so sneaky that most shoppers never notice it. You pick up a hoodie for $24.99. Later, you wander a few racks over and wait a second. There's the same hoodie in the same size and color for $19.99. No, you're not imagining things. Here's what's happening. Ross often buys the same product from multiple vendors at different times and sometimes at different costs. Instead of standardizing the price, each batch gets its own tag based on what Ross paid for that shipment. That means 2 identical items, same brand, same style, same size, and completely different price tags. One subscriber told us, "I grabbed a Nike hoodie for $25. 2 racks over, I saw the same hoodie for $19.99. I took both to the register, asked about it, and they gave me the lower price. If I hadn't checked, they would have just taken the extra $5. Pro move: if you find something you like, scan nearby racks for duplicates. If you spot the same item with a lower price, take both to the register and politely ask for the cheaper price. Don't pay the lazy tax just because you didn't look around." Bonus secret number 3. Luxury finds are mostly smoke and mirrors. Ross loves to dangle the dream. You see a purple tag, a slick hanger, maybe even the word runway on a sign. Your brain instantly screams luxury. You start imagining Gucci, high-end Italian leather, or runway collections for a fraction of the cost. But here's the truth. Most of those so-called luxury finds are out-of-season leftovers, irregular items, mid-tier brands dressed up to look premium, things that never actually sold for the crazy compare at price you see on the tag. That jacket is listed as $400, compare at, and marked down to $129. Odds are it never sold for $400 anywhere. That number is there to make you feel like you stumbled into a once-in-a-lifetime steal. Ross thrives on illusions. And the deeper you dig, the more you realize. The chaos, the clearance, the runway sections, it's all engineered to make you feel like you won. Here's the bottom line. Ross isn't really about saving you money. It's about making you feel like you saved money. The only way to truly win in a store like this is to see through the game, flip the tags, question the compare at prices, inspect items for defects, stack real discounts using senior days and discounted gift cards, and most importantly, know when to walk away, because the biggest savings aren't on the clearance rack. They're the dollars you never spend on junk disguised as a deal. If you made it this far, you're already smarter than most Ross shoppers. Now do me a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to Frugal Finds for you, and tell us in the comments, what's your Ross story, your best score, or your worst regret? At Frugal Finds for you, we believe in spending smarter, not just spending less. And that starts with asking better questions every time you step into a store.